every revolutionary wants to target the father. And I think there's something really deeply spiritual happening there. Because when we think of authority now, right authority, or even fatherhood, the role of the father, our minds immediately go to tyrannical domination. It's been such an effective demonization of the image of a father. But if you talk to someone, they know what a good father should be. They know, even if they didn't experience it, they know that a good father is not there to control them, but actually to empower them to lead their lives independently. They know a good father is gentle, but also strong. And I think we have so corrupted the image of the father in a way to corrupt our understanding of who God is, because God is the father. And he's not a father because he's like a human father. Human fathers are more fatherly insofar as they're more like him. And that fatherhood really is a window into who God is. So the revolutionaries were, of course, correct. In targeting the father, you really dismantle society from the inside out. Because so they wrote about men needing to become licentious, right? To become slaves to their desires. That was part of our liberation. Our liberation is through combating groups outside of ourselves, but our liberation is also through combating our own internal desire or instinct to repress our desires. And so part of our liberation was in embracing every desire, particularly ones that were transgressive. And this was a real target of men. And what happens then is once a man's moral authority is eroded, then women become vulnerable, because there is a way in which men are called to be providers and protectors. And once women become vulnerable, they tend to become calloused because the sexual revolution targeted them, and it encouraged them to engage in all sorts of relationships and activities that women really have to callous themselves to engage in, because they have to develop a thick shell, I think. And I think that's hardened a lot of women. It's because they have felt truly used and have felt that they weren't cared for. And the deeper part of what's happening, I think, is that think about how the revolution manipulated this societal pathology. It encouraged men to become licentious, to become weak. And then it pointed to the inevitable abuse and disruption that happened between men and women and said, you see, this is further evidence that we need to smash the patriarchy. Men are bad, so let's condemn men as on a whole as being bad. It's suggesting that the cure is the exact thing that caused the problem. That furthering down on rejecting true masculinity is the way that we're going to get out of this hole of having eradicated what real masculinity is. St. Thomas Aquinas says that to be emasculated is to be a slave to pleasure to the point where you're no longer willing to suffer. To be a real man, there is some connection between suffering and true masculinity that society needs and families need. So I think